So welcome everybody. I'd like to welcome Macy's Clinique. Both Brittany and Heather are here for tonight's presentation. I'll let them do their introductions and start the session. So thank you folks, and off we go.
Hi everybody, welcome to our Foundations Fundamental Workshop. This is part 2 in our Demystifying Cosmetics series. Let me move over the slide. You guys are going to see me looking back and forth because I'm between two monitors doing the slides. Okay, so for those of you that attended our last session, you may remember me. But for those that I'm meeting for the first time, my name is Brittany Lavasser. I'm the cosmetics coordinator for Clinique New England and the Boston market. And I've been partnering with your Samantha Ambrose to create this series that's all about just breaking down the ins and outs of cosmetics. So joining me today as well is Heather Mercieri. She's my counterpart coordinator in the New England market at Clinique. So she's going to be helping us man the chat tonight.
Yes, if you have any questions, put them in the chat and I can answer them, or you can send me a private message if you're more comfortable with that too.
So if you were with us last time, then you're going to know that our Clinique workshops, we really love them to be really interactive. So you're going to see that we'll be using polls every so often. I'll ask all of you questions. I'm going to be stopping frequently to answer any questions anyone might have. And at one point, I'm actually going to be looking for volunteers to formula match foundations for. Now, as a thank you, and this is the first time we've ever done this, as a thank you for answering certain questions or volunteering, Clinique actually provided us with some full-size product prizes that we'll be able to ship free of charge directly to your home. Just know that I will always stop and let you know when a particular question comes with a prize reward for answering. Now, if you prefer just to kick back and watch the workshop without doing any of the interactions, by all means, just listen and relax. This is your time. I want you to spend it in whatever way is the most enjoyable to you. But if you are out there and you do feel comfortable, I encourage you to engage with me throughout the whole session. You can use that chat box or you can come off mute. And so long as you're feeling comfortable, just go ahead and join us on camera. We encourage this level of interaction because the workshops that have a lot of engagement are just by far the most fun. All right, to kick us off, I'm actually going to start with a question for everyone. You can go ahead and put your answer in the chat box. Has anyone out there ever struggled with their foundation? Maybe you followed a YouTube tutorial and it turned out that without professional filters and studio lighting, it didn't look so good to be using their techniques. Or maybe you went out thinking your foundation looked amazing and then you walked by a mirror and you realized you had that dreaded orange line at your neck. That was me for 4 full years of high school. Maybe your makeup always seems thick or textured. By midday, it always seems to have melted off, or no matter what you've tried, it never seems to cover the way that you want it to. Has anyone out there ever experienced anything like that? Heather, I can't see the chat box, so I'll need you to read it to me if it's there.
Yes, during the summer especially, I wondered how to know if it's the right foundation for me.
Yeah, you definitely aren't alone. Proper prep and application of foundation are some of the most common reasons people approach us for help in store. The struggle is real. There's a lot of elements to foundation finding, and that's why we're just going to spend the full hour tonight learning how to properly prep your skin for foundation, how to choose the correct formula for you, and how to use foundation application techniques to enhance your skin and achieve your desired effect. And that brings me to my soapbox moment of the evening, where I let you all know that the purpose of foundation is not to cover up or to hide your skin. I don't know if anyone out there has ever heard of the lipstick effect. It's a phenomenon that was actually discovered in a study by the Harvard School of Medicine. They found that wearing makeup can give individuals a clinical confidence boost and increase feelings of self-esteem. They also found that that confidence boost from wearing makeup was in turn contributing to feelings of wellness. And wellness and confidence and self-esteem, they all have huge effects on so many parts of our lives. And actually participants in that study actually even began to have better grades. So the lipstick effect is why I love makeup so very much. And it's never about hiding your skin. It's just about that boost you get when you're feeling very confident about yourself. It's about that self-care moment and just enhancing the natural beauty of the skin that you're in. All right, and with that, let us dive into our first section, which is prepping your skin with proper skincare. And we're going to pause here to launch our first poll of the evening. I don't think I can see the polls while I'm screen sharing. Can anyone Heather, can you see a poll option on there? I can't hear you, Heather.
Sorry, I said no. I can see like polls at the bottom, but I don't see like a poll popping up on the screen.
I got it.
Heather, oh, thank you, Anna.
Oh, somebody
There we
else did
go.
it. Yep, there you go.
All right, so everyone can just take a moment to vote their answer. So it's, how do you currently prep your skin for your foundation? The answers are, I use a 12-step Korean skincare routine. I wash my face and I use a moisturizer. I'm just starting out and I don't really have a routine just yet. Or does the foundation left on my skin from the day before count?
So it looks like I can launch the polls. Just tell me when.
Oh, nice. Thank you so much. And I think that we're good, and it is unanimous. Share the results. So everyone's pretty much at the same place. I wash my face and I use a moisturizer, and that's actually the most common place that people are, so I'm not really surprised. Honestly, regardless of where you're starting out, whether you're totally new or you have a really killer routine, it's important to use skincare prep because it is the absolute key to your foundation looking good. The first reason is really obvious and straightforward. The better shape your canvas is in to begin with, the more flawless your final look is going to be. You have less that you have to cover. But it's also just true that foundation that is, regardless of the brand, it's always going to look significantly better on a surface that's been primed with skincare. It's going to lay flatter, it's going to look more natural, and it's going to be more likely to stay put throughout the day. Does anyone out there know the 3 basic skincare steps to healthy skin? If you were here last time, this should be pretty easy. And this one is for a prize reward. Anyone? All right, I'll go ahead and give it. The steps are to cleanse, exfoliate, and moisturize. So these steps are very synergistic. Each step helps the next one work a little better. At Clinique, we call this 3-step, and I'm just going to take you through the basics of those steps now with a focus on how they aid your foundation application. Okay, so that first step is cleansing. So prior to applying makeup, it's really important to get your skin clean with a product that is made for your skin type. This is going to prevent clogged pores. It's going to remove any dirt that may dull your skin. So essentially, it provides you with a brighter canvas and it prevents breakouts. Shown on screen right now are our All About Clean cleansers. They come in 3 different skin types and are known for being super gentle on the skin. That's really the balance you want in a good cleanser. They just need to get your skin clean, but not strip it. Next up is my personal favorite step, which is exfoliating. If you have ever applied a foundation and you've found that it felt heavy or looked super textured, or it was really clinging to dead skin, then exfoliation is going to be your new holy grail. In a nutshell, exfoliation is just the removal of dead skin from the surface of your skin, and it makes a huge difference to how your foundation looks. It's going to prevent it from looking like dull, textured, or separated makeup on your skin. In my opinion, there's actually very few things you can do to prep for makeup that are going to benefit you quite as much as exfoliation will. So at Clinique, our main exfoliators are called clarifying lotions. So clarifying lotions are liquid exfoliators. They use alpha hydroxy acids to really gently remove dead skin twice a day. This makes them really uniquely amazing when it comes to applying makeup afterwards. And the reason why is that you cannot use a standard skincare scrub daily on the skin without risking some irritation. When you're using like a really granular product, your body can actually react if you use it too often by making more dead skin because it thinks something is wrong and it's trying to protect itself. So then you get more dead skin. Now you have a buildup and your makeup is still not lying flat. When you are using a really gentle liquid exfoliant, you don't have that problem. So you're consistently able to remove that dulling layer of dead skin and always leave your skin perfectly primed for makeup every single day. So this particular product comes in 5 formulas that are organized by skin type so that you are able to get the correct option for you. Does anyone out there want to come off mute and tell me about their skin type for a prize of a full-size clarifying lotion?
This is Tony. My skin tends to be dry.
Dry. Are you dry just in your cheeks, or on your cheeks and in the center of your face?
I notice it mostly around my nose and on either side of my nose.
So yeah, through the center. So when it's also through the center, we consider you a skin type 1, which means like you are the driest skin type, tends to have a little bit more sensitivity. So for you, clarifying lotion 1 would be the right one for you. The reason we make such a point to match people to the correct one is if like someone like you that's more prone to dry, if I were to put you in a type 4, which is for oily, it would strip your skin so bad and dry you out more. So long as it's correctly matched to your skin type, it's always the correct amount of exfoliation for you. All right, and we actually have a really cool video that demonstrates why this is so good with makeup. So you're gonna see on the video that they're gonna take this piece of tape and put it on the back of their hands. They're gonna use clarifying lotion on a cotton ball just on one side. And then they're gonna take the exact same amount of makeup and put it down on both sides of that piece of tape. You're gonna see them blend it in. And now when they remove that tape, you're going to be able to see how flat it's laying on the side that was prepped with exfoliation versus that other side. Like it can look all right on both, but it is laying cleaner. It is brighter on the side that was exfoliated first. So that gives you an idea of the difference that it makes. My only qualm with this video is I wish they also showed the difference in moisturizer made. All right, the last thing I want to say before I move on to moisturizers about clarifying lotions, I've worked with a lot of brands over the years. And before I settled in with Clinique, I always found that with each one, there was 1 or 2 products from each one that it's just something that they did like perfectly. It was something that was spot on. So it was something that I would never give up from that particular brand. For me, clarifying lotion is a product I would never give up from Clinique. It's just something they do really remarkably well. All right, so now we're going to move on to the last step for prep, which is moisturizing. In my opinion, this step is really close to just as important as exfoliating. If you ever applied a foundation and you found that it was streaking or sitting really strangely on the skin, maybe your face kind of felt like the Sahara, or you kind of found that the makeup was accentuating fine lines, needing to prep with a moisturizer might be your culprit. So in general, a good moisturizer is going to be designed to replenish lost moisture, strengthen your skin's natural moisture barrier, and prepare the skin for additional products, including a foundation. And a good moisturizer makes for the best primer that money can buy. The reason is if your skin lacks moisture, it leads to texture and dryness. And if you apply foundation on a surface that's textured and dry, well, it's going to look and feel textured and dry. So Clinique is the #1 moisturizer brand in the world. If you were at our last workshop, you know we have a lot of moisturizers. But among all of them, there's one that is really consistently highlighted as making almost a magically good primer. And that is Moisture Surge 100-Hour Auto Replenishing Hydrator. These names are very long. I apologize in advance. So this is an oil-free gel moisturizer that has a really beautiful blend of aloe vera, bioferment, and hyaluronic acid. This product gives your skin hydration that penetrates 10 layers in and lasts for 100 hours in the skin. So it keeps you hydrated even after you wash it off. What's great about this product is if you're currently using a moisturizer at home that you absolutely love, you can actually use a pea-sized amount of the Moisture Surge on top, and it's going to work almost like a hydrating primer. So the base of Moisture Surge is an ingredient called dimethicone. This is actually a kind of silicone, and it's the main ingredient that you find in a really expensive primer. This makes this product, between the hydration and that dimethicone base, like amazing as a foundation primer. There are people that don't even typically use Clinique, and this is one of the only products that they use from us just because it's that good when used over your makeup. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take just a little bit on the back of my hand and I'm gonna rub it on just one side. And this feels very silky. It's refreshing and cooling. It's because it's like a gel base. It feels very, very lightweight. And then I'm just gonna take a little bit of makeup. And what I'm gonna do is basically repeating what that demo we watched earlier. I'm gonna put a very small amount. I'm gonna start it there so I can take a small amount. Tap a little bit over where I put the moisture surge and tap a little bit where I didn't. And I'm going to blend it in over both. So you can see over here, you can't even see the difference, but over here you can see that line where that makeup is. So it's just going to help it blend more effortlessly into your skin when you're using that.
Tony asked a great question in the chat. So Moisture Surge replaces primer.
You can use them together, but honestly, yeah, to me, yes. If so long as you're using another moisturizer, yes. This is going to be kind of the better option between the two because it's hydrating, which is already one thing you can use a primer for, and it has that same slip effect. Like when you're using a primer, it's so that your products smooth on a little bit better. You get this out of it, plus a lot of really great skincare benefits as well. Okay. Does anyone have any questions before we move on skincare prep for foundation or skincare in general? Whatever you like. Are we good, Heather?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to move on to a section that I've kind of mentally been calling Foundation 101. In this section, I'm just going to go over the 5 components of a foundation that you need to know to select a good formula for you. And we're going to start off with undertone. So an undertone is the color from underneath the surface of your skin that affects your overall hue. There are 3 undertones. There's cool, warm, and neutral. So a cool undertone is usually associated with skin that has hints of blue, pink, or like a ruddier red complexion. A warm undertone is usually more peachy, golden, or yellow toned. Neutral is when you're somewhere kind of mixed in between the two. Incorrect undertone choice is a really, really common reason that people struggle to find the correct foundation for them. If your undertone is off, or if it's slightly different than your natural undertone, it will always look slightly weird. You might not even be able to put your finger on why it looks wrong, but it will always look wrong. There are a few common ways to find your undertone. The most popular, and in my opinion, the easiest, is to take a look at your veins. So if your veins on your wrist look purple or blue, then you likely have a cooler undertone. If they are green, then that means you're leaning more towards a warmer undertone. Now, if you find that you have both colored veins or kind of somewhere in between the two, that means you lean towards being a neutral tone. I'm actually in this category. I have both green and blue veins, but most of them are blue. So that makes me kind of a cool neutral. I am a neutral, I'm right in between, but I lean towards cool. So for my makeup, I'm gonna select a cooler tone. Another common way to tell undertone is the jewelry colors you look best in. So if you tend to wear and look good in silver, then more than likely you have a cool undertone. If you always gravitate towards gold, you just know that's the one you look best in, then more than likely you have a warm undertone. And the next area that determines a good foundation is depth of tone. So your depth of tone is determined by the amount of melanin present in the upper layers of your skin. So you can see our shade range here from very fair going down to kind of moderately fair to medium to deep tones. I'll go between these two slides so you can kind of see. What I actually really like about these model shots, and the reason I chose these ones for the slides, is if you look at the upper left models, you'll see one that's wearing Breeze and one that's wearing Bone, just towards the upper left of that slide. Both of these models are very fair in depth of tone, but the one on the left has a lot more pink in her skin, and the one on the right has a lot more yellow. If you were to flip-flop the foundations that they were wearing, even though they're both very fair, the foundations would never look correct. And this is what happens to a lot of people when they're struggling to find the correct shade. That undertone is just slightly off, even if the depth of tone is correct. All right, so the next components are coverage, benefits, and finish. So foundation coverage basically just describes how heavy a particular foundation is and how much it's going to cover. So usually you see sheer, medium, and full coverage foundations. A sheer foundation is going to provide, it's going to be good for a very no makeup look. So it's lighter weight. These are ideal for anyone who really likes their natural skin to show through, or they just don't want to look or feel like they're wearing makeup, but they want to have a hint of something to smooth out their tone. Medium coverage is by far the most popular. It's right in between the other two, and it can often be layered to get a little bit more coverage. So this is good for getting some cover for imperfections and evening out your tone without ever really being extremely heavy. And then finally is a full coverage foundation. These are going to provide the most coverage, but with a trade-off that they're usually denser or heavier. They're going to be a little bit more prone to giving your skin a makeup-y look or like feeling thicker on the skin. So that's just a trade-off that you get when you're getting something that has a lot of coverage in that way. Finish, on the other hand, refers to the effect that the makeup gives your skin. The most common finishes on the market, and you'll sometimes see like different wording that just is the same, are luminous, natural, matte, and satin. Luminous is my personal favorite. This refers to like a really dewy formula that reflects the light and gives that like really youthful glow. Matte formulas are very flat in appearance. They don't typically reflect the light. They tend to be good with people who are more oily because they don't want something that gives them additional shine. A satin finish, those are usually very velvety and they live right in between a matte and a dewy formula. And a natural finish, it's very much like how it sounds. It looks like your natural skin. This is the most popular finish we see. A lot of times when people approach us for a formula, they just are looking for something that looks like skin. The very last foundation component is benefits. So you're going to see, especially these days, that foundations on the market often contain ingredients for skin concerns. This is just one more element to keep in mind when you're looking for the right product for you. A good example would be if you have dry skin, you might want to find a formula that contains a hydrator or shoot for a tinted moisturizer. And you also probably want to steer clear of formulas that mattify the skin or absorb oil. They're only going to make you more dry. The most popular skincare benefits in makeup are usually hydrators, peptides for anti-aging, antioxidants, sunscreens are very, very common, dark spot treatments, and brighteners, so things like vitamin C that help give you that natural glow. So this
Brittany,
area, oh yeah.
Sorry, we have a question in the chat. Serious question. What if we are colorblind?
If you're colorblind, then you would either want to get the help of somebody in store to be able to color match you, or you'd want to rely on an app that we're actually going to use later that scans your skin, and it's going to give you recommendations. So those recommendations are going to be how you narrow down which is the correct product for you. So being colorblind is definitely not an impediment to still finding your perfect color.
I wanted to write stay tuned, but I didn't want to like,
no, it's
I wanted to like let you know there was a question too.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, so this area where skincare meets makeup, that's what Clinique is known for. So we're also the #1 foundation brand in the world, and the reason is our points of difference. Our foundation actively improves your skin while you wear them. Our products are all designed to be really custom fit, and we don't use allergens, fragrances, or phthalates in our products. So in a nutshell, we're a very skincare focused makeup brand. So we're going to dive into the formulas available at Clinique in a moment. But before we move on, does anyone have any questions on their undertone, depth of tone, or any questions on finishes? Let's sip this well. Wait. Are we good, Heather?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let's move on to formulas. All right, so now we're actually going to launch our next poll, which is designed to help me narrow down some of the more popular foundation formulas that the group might be interested in. Okay, so this is all about what kind of look you gravitate towards. You can say that you want luminous glow like JLo, that you want a matte satin effect like RuPaul. You can say you want a natural look like Meghan Markle, or you can say if is looking like you're not wearing anything an option. Okay. So we are not a fan of the glow in this group, but we did have two say that they like matte satin skin. And the most popular, no surprise, natural skin type. And then at least one that wants to see something that's very, very lightweight. Okay. All right, so before I move on, after this section, I just want to put on everybody's radar. I'm going to end up asking for one or two volunteers after this to kind of live find out what their best foundation formula would be. So if you're comfortable coming off mute and being a volunteer, just go ahead and throw that in the chat while I'm going over some foundation formulas right now. And this is another one that is for a prize. So the first two people who want to volunteer, we will ship you a full-size product if you're willing to come off mute and volunteer for this section.
We have
Okay.
Tony and Kay.
Oh, perfect. All right, so if you said that you, and I believe we had, it was either one or two that wanted a matte satin, you would like the Even Better Clinical Serum Foundation. So this is a satin matte finish. It's very full coverage. And this stuff is actually kind of nuts. It's so good. If I'm being honest, this is the first time I've ever liked a full coverage product myself personally. And that's because this product manages to be very pigmented, but not thick. It's very new technology. I mean, Heather, like what, it came out just a few months ago.
Yeah.
And sometimes those newer products, like I said, they're able to be highly pigmented without making the makeup thick. So it doesn't feel super heavy on the skin. This is a clinical foundation, so it has 3 different serums in it. It has a dark spot serum that evens tone, a hydration serum that's going to help plump up your skin, and a smoothing radiant serum. So it's going to smooth you out and give you a little bit of a natural glow. So this foundation is clinically proven to improve how your skin looks and feels. That claim is really seldom found in makeup. It's very, very rare. Actually, it's rarely found in general. But certainly in makeup, it's hard to come by. And this is the only makeup that we carry that has a clinical claim. For people who like this finish and this kind of coverage, like it is spot on home run, and it wears for 24 hours and has an SPF of 25.
Wow.
Masks are kind of going away, but it also did not come off even for a second on my nose under the mask. And I'm wearing and selling cosmetics all day. So that was very near and dear to my heart when I tried this product, that nothing came off on my nose. Okay, I'm actually going to skip by this one because we didn't have any takers on the glow. All right, so for those of you that said natural like Meghan Markle, and that was the vast majority, Even Better makeup would be for you. So it's a medium coverage foundation with a nice natural finish. And this foundation is our bestseller. It has ingredients that help even tone and fight dark spots. It has SPF 15 that's going to help prevent future dark spots and signs of aging. And it comes in 56 total shades, which means that we can match just about every skin tone in this formula. This product was in those model shots that I showed earlier for depth of tone. It honestly has a truly stunning shade range. It's something that we're very, very proud of. Okay, so for the one of you out there that was looking for a lightweight product and they said asked if wearing nothing is an option, we have Moisture Surge Sheer Tint Hydrator Broad Spectrum SPF 25. So this is a really lightweight tinted moisturizer with a natural finish. This product contains a hydrator. It has some really beautiful skin nourishing ingredients like antioxidants, and it has 8-hour wear. It's also sweat and humidity resistant. So this is the one I typically wear if I'm working outside or if I'm going to the beach. And it's just perfect for like a no makeup look. Anytime they're lighter weight, by the way, they're also more approachable. So if you're newer to foundation and makeup and you just want something easy, then a tinted moisturizer is going to be your jam. All right, really quickly, and I don't have a slide for this, so I'm just going to talk through it. Before we do the live foundation finding, I just want to touch on the difference between a liquid and a powder foundation. So liquid foundations have great options for all skin types, and you're more likely to see formulas with really good skincare benefits in the liquid family. Liquids are also just in general, the most popular foundation formula on the market. Powder foundations are great for attaining like a really flawless result very quickly. They're very grab and go. They're frequently used for setting a liquid makeup or absorbing excess oil on the skin. Their drawbacks can be that they can be just a little bit more drying. And if you do have dryness on the skin or dry patches, they're going to cling to those dry patches. So it's really common to see people use a liquid as their base, and then you set with a powder, even if it's only in key areas that you might need it, just to get more staying power out of your makeup. And that kind of gets you the best of both worlds. However, which one you want, totally personal preference. You're going to find good options for every skin type in both categories. All right, so whoever put their name in first to come off mute and do the live foundation matching, please come off now.
Okay, I think that was me.
Hi,
And
Tony.
me. I think I was the second one.
Okay, all right, I'll start with Tony and then I'll move over to UK. Okay, so Tony, what look do you like in your makeup?
Like I said, I was one of the ones who wanted the matte look.
Okay, so you prefer more matte. How much coverage do you like?
I need pretty heavy coverage.
Okay, so you prefer a lot of coverage out of your product. Do you have any concerns with your skin, or are there any particular benefits that you're looking to treat?
Like I said, I tend to get dryness right around in here on either side of my nose. So it can get kind of red and flaky. The skin can get red and flaky there sometimes.
So you're a dead on actually for that newer clinical foundation I was talking about. So for you, it would be even better clinical. The salicylic acid in it is actually going to help remove a little bit of that dead skin very gently. And then it has a hydrator in it. And that hydrator isn't a replacement for moisturizer. It's not going to moisturize your skin. It's just going to help plump up some of the dry skin, but it still has treatments for both. And then it's going to give you the coverage and the effect that you like. All right, so that's Tony's perfect shade. How about UK? What are the what look do you like in your makeup?
I clicked the Meghan Markle look, somewhat natural, but I know I need some coverage. So,
do you like full coverage, even though you like the natural finish? Like, do you want something that really covers?
my skin is pretty good, so I don't need heavy coverage.
Okay. Do you have any concerns with your skin, or are there any particular benefits that you look for?
No concerns with the skin. Honestly, my biggest problem is I'm not the best user for using sunscreen. So there's a fairly significant change in skin tone from dead winter to midsummer. So it's like I'm constantly trying to find a shade that works depending upon the underlying skin color.
I will say it's actually very, very common to have people that have a summer shade and a winter shade, and then you kind of mix them for the time in between. But actually the regular Even Better makeup that we already discussed for the Meghan Markle option would be good for you at that point, because you get it's going to give you coverage, but it's not heavy coverage. You have your natural finish, and it has at least the SPF of 15. 15 is not enough if you're going to be taking long walks in the sunshine or if you're at the beach, but for day in and day out use, it's going to get the job done. It's going to help you when you're getting in and out of your car, like incidental sunlight. So that would be a good option for you. All right, was there anyone else that just wanted to go through the live formula matching, or are we good? All right, sounds like we're good. Okay. Okay. So this is going to be the part where we go over that shade match app that we kind of mentioned earlier. So now that we've narrowed down formulas that you might like, we're going to talk about matching you each to the perfect shade of a foundation, a concealer, a lipstick, and a blush. So at Clinique, we have an app called Clinique Clinical Reality Shade Match Science that's able to scan your skin to find the perfect color match shade. The program then uses color science to narrow down 3 perfect lipstick shades that it already knows based on your base color are perfect for you. You get a naked shade, a casual shade, and a glam shade recommended for you. And then once you know your perfect foundation color, we can actually use our Clinique color guides on our end to find your perfect shade of blush and concealer. So in a nutshell, from one scan, we're able to recommend 6 different perfect color matched products for you. So I'm actually going to demo a scan for you right now so that you can follow along. Just know that this only works on mobile, so it's going to work on your phone. If you're using an iPad, it's going to work on the iPad. Once you get your color, as we go through this, drop it in the chat what the shade number is. Heather's going to use that color to let you know your perfect color matches of lipstick, concealer, and blush so that you get your full routine in just one go. All right, so I'm going to lead you guys through this video over here, which has no sound because I did manage to figure out how to record my screen, but not how to do audio. But I'm getting there. All right, Heather, did you drop in the chat the link?
Working on it, sorry.
Okay.
I was too busy like shade matching myself.
So where you can start is if you have your phone in front of you, then you can use the QR code that's up on your screen to bring up cliniqueclinicalreality.com. Or if you're currently on your phone, then go to the chat and you're able to click the link that Heather just dropped in there for you. So when you start out on cliniqueclinicalreality.com, we have a skincare option and a shade match option. So you want to go for the one that says foundation match, and then you click get started at the bottom of the screen. After that, it's going to bring up countries. So you can choose whichever language or country that you're comfortable with. And then you're able to actually scroll through the various formulas that we just talked through and choose whichever one you would like to be matched in. So in this video, I'm using the regular Even Better clinical formula because that's what I'm going to be using in the demo later. When it asks if it can allow for camera access, just make sure you say allow. If for some reason you accidentally click cancel, just reload the website and it will prompt you again. All right, so what you want to do is you need to get your face in the center of that circle, and you want all 3 of those little green boxes at the top to light up, which is actually really easy. It's going to say finding your shade, and it's going to have you select right here whether you're cool toned or warm toned. Underneath that, it says need help finding your undertone, and there's a spot where you can click. It's actually going to bring up the same guidelines that I mentioned earlier, which are using your veins or using jewelry to determine which is your undertone. Once you select it, you can click see your shades, and it's going to bring up 3 color matches. So just because it starts on the one in the middle doesn't mean that it's your perfect option. It's just the one in the center of the 3 options that it brought up for you. I always recommend, especially because lighting can change your match, that you try on all 3 to make sure that you get the one that you think is really the best one for you. You're actually able to move that little center panel with your finger to virtually try the product on. You can try the middle one. It'll bring you to the darker one. And then for me, this lighter one was the closest fit option. Now, if you try on all 3 and you're like, something still doesn't feel quite right, you can hit view shades on that right-hand side, and it then brings you to every one of the foundation colors to virtually try on. When you're feeling confident with the color choice that you have in mind and you have it up on the screen, you can hit view lip matches, and this option is brand new. And then you can virtually try on your casual shade, your natural shade, and your glam shade of lipstick. I'm actually a diehard fans of the lipstick that they recommend. They all come out really, really pretty, especially the glam shades. I had 1 or 2 bright colors that I would wear for lipsticks, but not many. Like, I credit this with making me really love bright colored lipsticks on people, or like those really glam shades, because regardless of who I've put the glam shade on, everyone pretty much always agrees that the glam shade is the prettiest. Okay, so as we're getting shade matches, as you're going through that program, just go ahead and drop it into the chat. That way Heather is able to use it. Like I said, it's going to show you your lipstick shades, but it doesn't tell you your concealer or your blush within the app. So I'm going to give it a minute here. Some of you will have been watching on your device the walkthrough, so you'll only just have clicked on your phone to actually do the scan. So we'll just give it 1 minute so that people can get their shades, and you can drop it into the chat. And you can also either unmute to ask questions or drop any questions into the chat if you have them.
Sorry, I just have to comment. This is really cool.
Isn't it? We didn't even know the pandemic was coming when we came out with this tech. You can select any of the 3 shades, Tony, to figure out which one is the best one for you. So the center one is just the middle of the 3 that it brings up. I don't know who earlier asked about the colorblind question, but if you're colorblind, all 3 of them are the correct undertone. So long as you can at least read depth of tone, you'll be able to see which one still looks the closest. Like when you move that before and after bar, whichever one looks the closest, even if you can't read the color very well, that is all. That second part is just about depth of tone. Yeah, Kay, absolutely. So what we can do is at the end, I'm going to mention that you can always sign up for like a virtual one-on-one with me, and I can help walk you through it. That way we're one-on-one and in good lighting, and I can see you through it. Or you can go to the counter itself, and most of them actually have this technology now on iPads, but then you'd actually virtually be able to try on the products in store. Most stores now are also doing self demo so that you could at least try it on the back of your hands. Like, you can't do full makeovers still, but you'd at least be able to see the product done on your skin. Okay, does anyone else have any questions? Heather's just going to work her way through the shade matches that we've gotten into the chat to get everybody their colors, but do we have any more questions before we move on? Good.
No.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to foundation and concealer application. Application supplies. Okay, so for this section, we actually have another poll, so we can launch the 3rd poll. Yes, Pearl, it is best to do it with no makeup on. No makeup on, and the better the lighting, the better the match. Okay, so for the poll questions, it's what's your current comfort level applying foundation? Your answers are, I could be Pat McGrath's personal makeup artist. I have some basics down, but I'd like to know more. Or just rubbing it on with fingers count.
I've done the finger thing.
I'm not above it. No shame. Okay. The results are in. Yeah, overwhelmingly, I have some basics down, but would like to know more. And then one, does rubbing it on with my fingers count? Yeah, so for anyone that said rubbing it on with your fingers, I own more brushes than I want to admit, and I'm not above using my fingers from time to time. The only difference that a brush really gives is you get a better application because it's less streaking. It's more it's applying in a more centered way, and it keeps the product in one spot. And you can sometimes use a little bit of less product, but you can get the job done with fingertips, especially if you're using a lightweight product. Like the heavier the coverage, the more it matters to be using a brush. But for something lightweight, sometimes you don't even notice the huge difference between the two. But nothing bad happens. Like the sky does not fall if you use a fingertip. All right, so the first things I want to mention as we go into application for foundation and concealer is just tools. So there are different types of tools, from sponges to beauty blenders to brushes. I personally prefer brushes because they give you a lot of control, and they're very easy to clean, and they last the longest. I've had my brushes now for over 6 years, and they don't even look dented. These are my main brushes. See if they can pick up right here. So I have a buff brush, which I like this because it's a blend of natural and synthetic fibers, so product really melts into the skin. Buff brushes are really easy to use, and they give an airbrush effect. So these are great for beginners, but also really commonly used by experts. So in general, they're just good for everyone. Next up, we have a flat foundation brush. These are very versatile. They're great for detailed or full coverage applications because you get the most control over where the product goes. And because of their shape, you can kind of get like around the eye, around the nose. So they're very versatile. So if you said, well, actually nobody said they were Pat McGrath's makeup artists, but these are really great for people that are willing to take the time to do that detailed application. So next up is just a really small concealer brush. These have a very tight weave on the product, on those bristles. That makes them good for holding product. It's very detailed, and they're good for spot concealing. So where you'd use these would be on dark spots, on blemishes, around the eye, around the nose. Anywhere that you really need detailed work, that's when you'd go in with those really small, tightly woven brushes. And then the last one is just a really versatile, fluffy powder brush. This is great for setting powder. It's good for bronzer. It applies product very softly, and it gives a really diffuse effect. So that gives me a lot of control over how much I'm applying, and that's why I really like fluffy brushes. Like especially, they're good for everyone, but especially if you're new, fluffy brushes are your friend because you can always layer extra product on. But you're not going to have to worry about like a streak of color that you then have to like frantically try to blend out. All right, so for this section, I'm actually gonna now remove my makeup. So I'm just grabbing some like makeup wipes so I can take it off. This is also the part of the class where I'm gonna go briefly blind because I'm gonna have to take my glasses off. Okay, so I'm just gonna use a makeup wipe, take off your face. And lipstick. Going to be using some of that clarifying lotion that I mentioned earlier to prep. And to use this, you just take a little bit and give it like 1 or 2 step overs with cotton ball. And then you're just going to lightly whisk it around your face. You don't have to scrub. The product does the work for you. Oh, yes, Anna, that's smart.
Thank you. Just so the recording software can pick you up.
I meant to do that. Okay. I don't know if you'll be able to see. You guys see how that's kind of gray? People
Yes.
from the class last time will have known this trick, but clarifying lotion, when it grabs dead skin, it appears like kind of grimy and bright. It's not dirt, like my skin is clean. I actually washed it shortly before this class started. So that's just dead skin coming off from the day. And now I'm gonna just go in with the moisture surge. If you already had another moisturizer that you used at home, you would use a very small amount of the moisture surge on top of that. Normally, you'd actually be doing this prep part at the beginning of your day and only using the moisture surge right beforehand as a primer. All right, so the technique that we're going to be using is called the 4 S's. So those S's are stipple, stack, stretch, and set. And then the foundation I'm going to be using is that Even Better Clinical I mentioned that has that matte satin finish, it's full coverage.
I replied to everyone who popped down their shade color in the chat. If there's anyone who didn't get a chance or I didn't respond, please let me know and I'll message you back.
So I'm going to take, and this is what I recommend at home, is for you to take a small amount of the product onto the back of your hand. So I'm just doing 1 pump. I feel like it's getting eaten a little bit by the lighting on my screen. I hope you guys can see it. The reason that I like applying it to the back of my hand is because when it's getting warmed by the skin, the product becomes more malleable and it's a little bit easier to use. So what I'm going to do to start is just tap a little bit of my brush into that product. And I'm going to start with my stipple step. So starting towards the center of my face, I'm going to be tapping it on. That's what a stipple motion is. It's like when you're doing that tap, tap, tap effect rather than like a streak effect. So I'm going to start tapping it first just to get it around. And the reason I start at the center of my face is because that's where you typically need the most coverage. Now I'm going to begin working in circular motions and I'm going to be stretching that product. So this keeps a lot of the coverage in one spot rather than like frantically buffing around. When you want a more full coverage effect, when you're working in smaller circles to stretch it, you're just blending the edges out so the product all stays in one spot. Now, when I get towards the outer edges of my face, so away from that center where I know I need the most coverage, that's when I'm going to use a wider blending motion because you don't need as much product out here. This is a little different if you have dark spots all through the center of your face, like it goes all the way to the outside. That's the only kind of exception to that rule where you might need a little bit more coverage on the outside. But typically when you're using less makeup on the edge, you have a cleaner line from your natural skin to the makeup. So now that I'm towards the outside, I'm going to be working in those full circles. Okay, now I'm going to stack the product. So I'm going to take what's left on the back of my hand, grab it on the brush. And this is where I kind of do a cursory look around my face to see where I might need a little bit more product. So for me, 9 times out of 10, that's going to be, again, really close to the center because this is where I get the most redness breakthrough. So I'm going to stack, again, almost in like a stipple motion, right on top. And then anywhere else that I might need it, just give another small blend. When you're doing that stretch motion, it should be maybe like 1/4 of an inch that you're moving the brush. All right, and now I'm going to set. So if you are more oily or you're going out into humidity or you're really focused on all day wear, maybe because you have an event or a wedding, then that's when you would use a powder to set. If you're very dry, you're going to be a little bit happier using something like a hydrating mist to set. So I get a little bit of oil through my T-zone, and then I'm the Sahara everywhere else. So I'm just going to use a tiny amount of powder just where I need it. You don't need a heavy amount of product everywhere. So I'm going to dip into my regular pressed powder, and this is in the exact same shade as my liquid makeup. I'm going to swirl my brush in, and I'm just going to tap off the excess. Because again, I got my coverage already from my first product. I only need a very small amount of the powder because I'm just looking to set. So I'm just going to take it and using a really light hand, just go through the center of my face. I started here because this is where I get the most oil. I get a little bit on my forehead. So just with what's left on my brush, that's where I'm going to go up and over my forehead. I'm not going to go out towards my cheeks at all because I get really dry and tight sometimes by the end of the day out here. So I don't want an additional product that's going to be absorbing oil off my face. And then for setting, I'm just going to use our Moisture Surge Hydrating Mist. You just do a couple of spritzes. The other nice thing about something like a hydrating mist is if you do like setting with powder, then the mist is actually going to kind of penetrate into that powder and meld it with the liquid base so that it kind of blends everything nicely together. You would not have to do both though. Like if you're just dry, just use a mist. If you want to set, if you're just oily, you can just do this, or you can use them both together. It really depends on the effect you're going for and how many steps you like to commit to. All right, so before we move on, does anyone have any questions on foundation application? Are we good, Heather?
Yeah, no, we're good. I'm obsessed with that brush. I just need to say, like,
Yeah.
I worked for Sephora for years and I used every foundation brush under the sun. I've used Beauty Blender. Like, I can't live without that brush. That's my everything. The buffing brush is everything.
I'm going to share my screen again. Do you guys see the screen?
Yes.
All right, so now we're going to move on to concealer. So concealers are for targeted imperfections. If you like light coverage foundation, then they're really great ways to spot conceal what your foundation didn't cover. If you like full coverage foundation, then they're great ways to amp up the coverage you already like in really targeted areas. So I'm going to be using our Even Better All Over Concealer and Eraser because it works really synergistically with the clinical foundation. We call this type of pairing a power couple. That basically means that they help each other work better because they're geared towards the same things. Every single Even Better formula that we've talked about tonight is a power couple with the concealer. So the concealer itself is a lightweight full coverage concealer. It has a really good effect for perfecting the skin. I'll be honest with you, I've always had a really love-hate relationship with concealers. I found that if they covered and they were heavy, then they got into lines and looked thick. And if they were lightweight, then they didn't cover. So it was kind of like, what's the point? This concealer was the first one that I honestly fell in love with because it's pigmented. It's very lightweight, but it's pigmented. So you get that balance out of both. It also has vitamin C, which is like a brightening kind of ingredient, and it has hyaluronic acid, so it's going to hydrate the skin. Those two ingredients over time help to like kind of depuff and hydrate around the eyes and plump up lines. So it has some solid skincare benefits. And then it also has a dual-ended applicator. So it has kind of like your classic doe foot applicator on one side, but then kind of hidden under this cap on the other end, it has a little blurring sponge. So the way that I like to use that sponge myself is to use it for on the go. I don't use it for my day in and day out applications. I tend to use like fingertips and brushes for that. But this is really, really good if you have it in a makeup bag for touch-ups during the day. You don't have to worry about either getting makeup on your finger or carrying around a brush. You just have that built in. And that is antimicrobial, by the way. So it doesn't like harbor bacteria or anything like that in there. This is also crease proof, and I should have a video that shows that. All right, so in the video, you're going to see them dot a little bit of the product right between their fingers. They chose this area because it's very thin, like the skin around the eye. And when you move your hand, it also moves just like the skin with crow's feet would move right around the eye. So once they get that coverage, they're just going to open and close their hand a few times. And it just never budges. And I can actually attest to that effect in real life. Like I never find that it moves around on me. All right, so we're gonna, in the end, I'm gonna demo application for this as well. All right, for one of those full-size gratis prizes, does anyone out there remember what those 4 S's were that I used earlier? I'm gonna use those same S's again. I'm actually gonna go ahead and start applying. If anyone remembers them and can get it into the chat before I list all 4, you win the prize.
Tony wrote stipple, stretch, stack, and set.
Well done, Tony. That was quick. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a very small amount of the product. I've gotten most of my coverage already from my foundation, so I just don't need much. So I'm just kind of going over the areas I need, which right now, even around my nose, honestly, looks really, really good. I just need a little bit around my eye. So I'm going to take a very small amount of product. Less is more. Always start with a very small amount. Don't do this little maneuver like you see on social media where they streak a ton under their eyes. That looks good with studio lighting and filters. That doesn't look good in real life. It just looks very, very heavy in real life. I can see Anna nodding her head. Yeah, you've tried. So take a very small amount and also take it lower than what you would expect. So if you're trying to get right around here like I am, like you might treat for a dark circle, I'm actually going to start right below where I would need it. That way I can stretch it up. And I'm just doing, honestly, like 3 little dots, and that's all I'm really going to need. For around my eyes, I'm actually going to use a fingertip for the stipple step. I like using my fingertip to start because I find that the warmth from my fingertip blends the product around very, very nicely without moving it too much. So you would want to use like a streaking motion that's just going to move it around and then you'll see right through it. You're just going to do a tap. So I'm going to go right over that product. And as I'm tapping, I'm moving up because remember, I started slightly below where I actually needed it. And now I'm going to grab that really dense concealer brush from earlier, and I'm going to stretch those edges out. I'm using like a small hand mirror now so that I can really see where I need to stretch. You don't need to go over everywhere. You don't even want to because you want that coverage to stay all in one place. So I'm just looking for where there are any obvious lines. Now, to be honest, the coverage already on top of the other makeup, it's already really good. But if I needed more, here's where I dip into a little bit more and I would just rinse and repeat to stack more on. And I don't normally set around my eyes, but if I did, I would be taking a very small amount of powder. I do it if I'm doing all day wear, like if I'm going eventing or if I'm going to be out in humidity. I would take a very small amount of powder and I would just literally whisk and you're done. I don't hold with that baking step for anything but really intense makeup. With intense makeup, baking it on actually makes sense. For everybody else, for like regular day wear, it just leaves your makeup looking thick and feeling dry around the skin. Unless you're very hyper oily. That's another exception to that rule.
Kay asked the question, is concealer the same color as foundation?
Often it is, but you can go up to 3 shades lighter if you want to have a brightening effect. Personally, I typically go like a shade, maybe maybe 2 shades. Back when I was doing a lot of highlighting, I would go 2 shades up. If you want just a little bit of brightening, I would go just 1 shade up, but you're often, if you can get something that's a dead on match, if one matches, the other matches, and it's going to look a little bit more natural. So there's a little bit of area there where you can kind of move and play, but overall, that's the answer. The other thing I want to mention is that there is no wrong order to do your foundation or your concealer. So I did it second. I like doing that because I feel like it saves on product and I get a better idea of how much concealer I actually need. But you'll see plenty of people that put their concealer on first and then their foundation. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Neither step is right or wrong. It's just personal preference. All right, so let me screen share again. My glasses back on now. Okay, and now we're going to move on to contouring. So we're going to start with our final poll of the evening, which is going to gauge everybody's comfort level with contouring. I also want to say that we are going to devote an entire workshop to sculpting the face with contour and highlight at some point because it can be a pretty in-depth subject. So we're just going to touch on some real simple basics for tonight because it's a good finishing step for foundation. The results are in. So for how comfortable the group is with contouring and highlighting, number 1 answer was just starting out, and the final answer was, can I use crayons? The answer to that is actually yes. All right, so there are 2 main reasons that we contour the face. It can be to shape and to frame the face or to help enhance certain features. Popular contouring formulas would be liquids, which are really good options for dramatic looks, powders, which are really good for more subtle effects. So they're good for people who are just starting out. And then for those of you, the one out there who said crayons, a lot of different brands, we're one of them, but you're going to find a lot of different brands do this, make this style of contour stick. This is kind of like a blend between both liquid and powder where you can draw it on and then buff it out and it almost blends out like a powder. So you can, if you would like to, use a crayon option that's kind of like the best of both worlds. It's also pretty common to see people using bronzers to contour. My preference is to only use a bronzer if it's for very light contouring. This is because cooler tone products tend to be a better choice overall. Natural shadows have a cooler and ashy tone, where bronzers are typically warmer. So you're just going to get a more natural effect from a cooler toned product. So when you're trying to shift the balance of your features, step 1 is face shape. So what's up on the screen right now are just some of the most popular face shapes. There are really, really good guides that we can go into next time for measuring your face. But if you see a shape here and you're just like, yep, that's definitely mine, this is just a good way to get an idea. Speaking personally, I actually have a heart-shaped face that's like a little bit half oval. And that's another thing, is it's not uncommon to be kind of right in between 2 other face shapes. So once you know your shape, you're able to figure out what the placement would be for you to contour or shape to the result that you're looking for. So this slide shows the product placement you'd want to sculpt your features. Does anyone see their face shape and want me to demo the product placement for that shape for you? And if we don't have any takers on that, then I'll just go ahead and go in with the one for heart-shaped face.
I can't tell if I'm a oval or an oblong.
You're more oval. You're definitely either oval with like a hint of another shape, but you're not a straight oblong. I can say that for sure. Does anyone want me to demo, or I'll just go in with the heart shaped? All right, heart shaped it is. So I'm using a shade, it's my natural shade, but 2 tones darker and in a cooler tone than mine. If anyone out there wants to know what your tone that is 2 shades darker but cooler toned for contouring of a powder would be, just go ahead and let Heather know and drop your shade in from earlier. We're able to use our shade tool to let you know right off the bat what 2 shades darker and cooler tone would be for you. Just drop in the chat what your shade is. Okay, so I'm going to be using actually a blush brush for this. I'm going to go in very lightly. So I dipped, I tapped. I'm just going to line it up with my cheekbone and go lightly up. And I'm using a really light hand because it's easier to go in lightly and then go back later and add more. Keep that on the other side. If you're looking just to like sculpt your cheekbones, a good idea is just line it up with the top of your ear and go down. That's usually a pretty good way of finding where your cheekbone is. And now with product that's left on my brush, I'm going to go up. And that's because like you can get away with a lot of dimension around underneath your cheekbone, but if you do a lot on your forehead that's rounded, it's going to look a little bit funnier. And then just a little bit on the chin. And now that I have that base, I'm actually going to use a tightly woven brush. This is our fluffy eyeshadow brush actually. And I'm just going to use a very light hand with slightly more. For time's sake, I'm just going to do this one side. And now I'm going to use the first brush again and just circle it out. And then same thing with what's left. I'll go a little bit under. You will get like a line of demarcation if you heavily do under the jawline. That's another thing that you can't tell from YouTube videos. All right, and that gives, you can see it's like subtle, but it gives that light and dark, so you get that effect of a shadow. And then now what I'm going to do to finish, I'm just grabbing my Shade Match shade, which is Heather Pop for my blush that was chosen earlier by my Shade Match scan. And I'm grabbing my Glam shade, which is Entwined at the lipstick, and I'm literally just going to finish off the look. Did we have anyone that wanted to know like a good contour shade for them?
Yes, I'm responding now.
I like powders, especially if you're starting out. Powders are very user friendly. Man, I miss lipstick. I'm so happy it's coming back.
Same.
Okay. Do we have any questions about contouring or anything else from the class?
No.
I have a question. So I'm kind of interested, like I noticed no one picked the J-Lo luminous kind of effect. And I would be interested in that, but as well, like that would be a Saturday night, a Sunday maybe matte or natural, and Friday matte or natural. Can you actually go between all those and keep it straight?
Like, I don't know if you can read like just the collection I have like in front of me right now. When I'm out in heat and humidity, I know, or if I'm going to an event, I know I want fuller coverage and I want matte. Day to day, most of the time, I really like a glowy effect, but then the pandemic shifted that a little bit for me because I didn't want it to come off my nose. So like honestly, whatever you feel like that day, whatever effect, whatever's currently in vogue, like go back 4 or 5 years, it was all about that beat face, heavy matte skin. Now we're going in a totally different direction where like lighter weight and glowy and really natural is getting really, really popular. Like whatever you're feeling in that moment, you can absolutely like pick up the formulas for it. And I'm not above mixing them. So the one that I mentioned earlier that we didn't show, this is the problem I've been having with my camera where like everything's way too bright. So this is Even Better Glow. It's not oily. It's completely oil free, but it has light reflecting pigments in it. It gives the most beautiful, like lit from within glow without being heavy. I will say, like, it calls itself a medium coverage. I don't know if you can really see it because of the camera. It calls itself a medium coverage. It's really more of a sheer. It's a sheer that can be built to a medium with like a second layer. So it's a very lightweight, approachable makeup, which is another reason that I sometimes blend it in with something else. But honestly, if you use something like this with like a hint of concealer, most of the time, like it's enough for day to day. Like maybe it's not enough for like going out for like dinner or something like that, but it's enough for day to day. It has vitamin C in it. It has hyaluronic acid in it, and it has salicylic acid in it. So it's going to help. It's going to help actually give your skin a glow as you wear it. I think you caught that theme with a lot of the makeup. Whatever they're geared towards, they have skincare ingredients so that you're getting the effect from it, and it's also treating it. But yeah, to answer your question, like sky's the limit. Makeup is meant to be fun and just give you whatever effect you're feeling in that moment.
Sure. I mean, that's how I think I would go about this is literally planning it by event. I could go luminous one day and, matte another and natural, on regular days. So I kind of like that opportunity.
Yeah, 100%. The other thing you can do is if you can get into a store, ask for some samples. If you know your shade color, then you can ask for like go in with a list. I would like, 2 to 3 samples of like these 3 formulas I'd like to see. That way you can kind of try them out and decide like which one is really like your absolute favorites. So if you don't want to commit to all of them all at once and you're not entirely sure, like don't like everyone will give you a 10-day supply of samples. I believe at least in New England that every store at this point can. There was a little while where some stores could and couldn't, but I believe at this point now, and at least in New England, that every store can give you a sample. All right, do we have any other questions? Good. Okay, so we covered a lot of information today. There just isn't time in an hour. Actually, we're already hitting an hour and 20. There's not time to show every type of look or foundation available. If anyone wants more help finding like a perfect formula or color for them and they want to do a one-on-one consultation, I'm available. You can reach out to me via email or via text. My contact information, my phone number, and my email is up on screen. This can be a consultation, or I can just show you how to get your desired effect from the products that you already have at home. They absolutely do not have to be Clinique. It can be whatever brand you already have. And I can just show you how to get the effect, or we can troubleshoot any problems that you've been having with your routine. The foundation service menu that we use, it can be anything, but that's up on screen to the left as well, so that you can get an idea of the regular services we do. All right, this is normally where we would do the Q&A, but does it feel like we've covered a lot of it? Does anyone have any other questions? I think we've been good. Like this has actually been a pretty chatty group with questions throughout as people have had it. So.
Well, I think the presentation is very straightforward and helpful. I'm sure people have questions will reach out to you directly, Brittany. I know I'm going to. I'd like to set up like a whole kind of process of what to get.
She's very good.
Oh, thank you, Anna.
Yeah, no, it was really good. I enjoyed our one-on-one.
I love doing the one-on-ones. It's the most like what I used to love at store, which was doing full-on makeovers. So I get a lot of love out of doing it. Okay, so if anyone out there is planning to make a purchase, if you already know that there's something that you want to pick up, we would deeply appreciate if you let us ship your order completely free of charge out of our Macy's Boston location. To thank you for doing so, we can offer you guys 15% off. We have an exclusive free gift that includes a setting powder and a full-size hydrating mist that we used in the service today. And in general, absolutely everybody who attended today, if you can get into the Macy's Boston location, they have a free deluxe sample for you. So make a purchase, get 15% off, free shipping and the free gift. Don't make a purchase. We still have some really, really good freebies that are waiting for you at home in those locations. If anybody qualified for a free prize tonight, please either put in the chat, like you can direct message Heather if you don't want to put it out there, or Samantha, if you're comfortable, people could always like email you or myself just to get their contact back over to me so that I'm able to ship them the free prizes they won. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you're going to purchase anyway, we'd really, really love if you could do it through us, but literally no pressure, just only if you're going to buy regardless. Thank you all so very, very much.
Well, thank you so much, Brittany and Heather. There's one more question. It looks like, what about online purchase?
So for online purchases, we have no ability to strictly get credit from online purchases. If it is the easiest way that you're able to make a purchase, if it is what is easier for you, then 100% do it. The only way that we can like actually get and track credit for us through the organizations that we work for would be to do it through a store order. But I want you to do what's easier for you. I don't want you to be fussed with it or to feel bad about it if it's just easier to use online.
Awesome. There's an address from Kay St. George.
Heather, are you taking that down?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
I'm born and raised from the town that Tony put in the chat, so I'm like excited.
And if anybody missed the link to the YouTube channel where the video will be put up soon-ish, I just put it back into the chat again. So if you missed it the first time, there it is.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Well, if there aren't any more questions, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the team from Macy's Clinique, Heather and Brittany. We really appreciate this. And as Brittany mentioned, these are hard to do in an hour and an hour and a half. So we're going to have more. So just stay tuned to our calendar, and we'll be uploading new dates for, not just this, but for, all of the workshops. But we'll be able to highlight those and get that information. So thank you all again, and have a great evening. Take care, and bye-bye.